So this video is about correcting mistakes some Peugeot technicians and Peugeot users in Nigeria have been making. So it's not just the technician, even users have been making these mistakes. And that is Peugeot engine cylinder numbering systems. In other words, a lot of people they they count the cylinder from the backward, or wrongly the way Peugeot numbers them. They will tell you, argue that, oh, the Peugeot cylinders are numbered from this other side, or this is cylinder one. Why Peugeot actually said no, the cylinder one is the other one. They will argue. There are cases where people will even tell you, "Ah, but the online said this. I just googled it. Look at what it showed on Google." You know, sometimes you just marvel of how detached human beings are, that every part of their life is dependent on what someone said online, forgetting that there are some of us that actually live the actual life offline, that there are things called workshop manual, physical ones sold by Peugeot, that some of us actually purchased or got, and read, studied, and apply these things on the vehicle physically, practical, to learn and use what knowledge we've gathered from these books to to diagnose, repair, and also provide solutions or advice to people that need them. You need to learn this thing, because you could find yourself um in a mess when you don't actually intentionally want to have that experience. I'll give you an example quickly. Someone was having issue in one of his cylinders in Peugeot engine. The cylinder was just or refused to work. So they kept moving the car from one workshop to another, until they brought it to one workshop there, and the technician now decided, what, they have to open the engine. Now something must be wrong with that cylinder. So they opened the engine. According to them, they were suspecting the valve, and they took it, do some work on, change that valve. In fact, that particular valve on that cylinder, changed the head gasket, mounted this thing back. The issue came back, didn't go away. The cylinder was completely shut down, refused to work, until I was brought into the picture. All I did was plug in my scan tool, and there it was. Cylinder 3 injector was not working. However, the mechanic and the owner was, both of them were there. They told me that they've done all the scanning, and it was that same cylinder 3. So I now said, "Are you sure it's the same cylinder 3 that has been giving you this car?" They said, "Yes, it's the same cylinder 3. Then now I said, "Okay, show me the cylinder you're actually calling cylinder 3. And they came out, opened the engine bay, and I'm saying both the mechanic and the technician and the owner of the vehicle, we are pointing as cylinder 2. According to the owner, every other the mechanics that have worked on that actually scanned, or even if other people came and scanned, immediately they mentioned cylinder 3, the mechanic say, "Oh, he pointed at cylinder 2 as the cylinder 3." So the same information the owner gathered, he used it in informing other mechanics to focus on that cylinder 2, thinking it was cylinder 3, that was where the problem was coming from, since they has done a lot of scanning. So guess what I did? I just ignored two of them as they were saying that. I went to the connector on the injector and found out that one of the wires, and guess what? It was the ground supply, the negative supply from the engine ECU. So the wire peeled up, or kind of cut off very close to the injector. So because of that, there was no pulse on the injector. The injector was not producing any pulse, so no fuel was coming out from there. Like I said, the focus was on cylinder 2, not knowing that it was the cylinder, what they were talking, cylinder they were focusing was cylinder 2, not cylinder 3. Supposed to cylinder 3 was on the other side. So I did. It took me less than 5 minutes to detect what was wrong with the connector on the cylinder 3. Change the connector. The cylinder 3 started working. So this was actually inspired me. It happened not long ago, but I was inspired to do this video so that people will learn, because you might take it for granted and you will waste so much money chasing the ghost. If I was not there, that guy would have kept going from one place to another until he may got frustrated and scrap the car. Because imagine, you may even change the engine, because you may get a point, you may change that engine and the issue will remain, because the issue has nothing to do with the mechanic, because they were focusing on the wrong cylinder. So I'm going in this video, I'm going to show you guys how Peugeot numbers their cylinders, or how their numbering systems on the cylinders are or have been ever since I know about Peugeot. At least the engine I know of since the 60s till date, they maintain the same numbering system of their cylinders. So it's not just about, I'm talking about SN engine, SM engine, ZN engine, SU engine, TU engine, EW engine, PureTech engine, VTI engine, THP engines. I mean, name it. Whatever petrol engine you can think of, their numbering systems remain the same. 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder, V6, it doesn't matter. So that's what I'm going to point out in this video. I did the best I can by doing some sketching, drawings, and it's not the perfect pictures, but it's just to give you guys idea what they look like. Okay, so let me start. All right, so we have two engine layout. At least I know Peugeot adopts or have been using. So we have transverse engine configuration or longitudinal engine layout. So I'm going to start with the transverse engines, which you'll find in modern Peugeot cars, unlike the older Peugeot engines that have longitudinal layout. So of course, from this drawing you can tell easily which layout your vehicle, your Peugeot car has, which layout the engine there has, right? So you can see the radiator, that this one is 4-cylinder. You can see it, transverse 4-cylinder engine. Peugeot, I'm not saying, I don't care about what other layout for other engine, not layout now, I'm talking about the numbering, cylinder numbering system. I don't care about what other brands, how they number theirs. Their own might differ. I'm talking about Peugeot engines. Of course, I'm talking about Peugeot, so even the ones mounted on the other former PSA engines. Now, of course, there are new brands, Stellantis, parent company, but I'm talking about this. When you say Peugeot, you know that, okay, you're talking about every other brands that share same engine. So, so this is for Peugeot engines. So for transverse 4-cylinders, so look at the layout. You can see the radiator. So when you open your bonnet, look at where your radiator is mounted. That will give you an idea how your layout is. So when you see your radiator, where is your gearbox? So where your gearbox is mounted will tell you, okay, this is the transverse or this is longitudinal engine layout. Okay, so Now you see your radiator where it's facing. So this is the gearbox. Let's zoom it well so you see it properly. So look at your gearbox. If you don't know where your gearbox is in the engine bay, ask your mechanic to show you where it is, because that will make it much easier to understand your engine numbering system. Now look at your gearbox. So when you find your gearbox, now you see the engine. So the numbering, the cylinders in all Peugeot engine, they start numbering the cylinders from the gearbox side. If you don't learn anything, just learn these particular words that I just spoke. They number their cylinders starting from the gearbox side. I'm not saying starting from the gearbox itself, no. But it's gear after the gearbox, the engine is attached on the gearbox. So after the gearbox where it's attached, you now count the cylinders. When I'm talking about cylinder, I'm talking about like that opening where the spark plugs are plugged in or bolted in, or where the injectors are slotted in. Those are your cylinders. Of course, the main cylinder is actually inside the engine. But I'm just saying that's where you start your counting to give you idea. From that spark plug chamber, those openings where your spark plug enters, consider them as your cylinders. So this is 4-cylinder we are talking about, 4-cylinder engines. Also, just regard this one too as both 4-cylinder and 3-cylinder engines. So from the gearbox, the first spark plug or fuel injector you see from that gearbox side is your cylinder 1, followed by cylinder 2, followed by cylinder 3. Then if the engine is 3-cylinder, it means that's where your cylinder ends. Then if it's 4-cylinder, it continues up to cylinder 4. So you look at where I also pointed arrow timing chain, that small box where the cylinder 4 ended. You see timing belt/chain. So it could be timing chain or timing belt, but that's your timing chain chamber. So now you located, if you don't know where your gearbox is mounted, find out where is your timing assembly or timing chain chamber is located on your engine. The simplest way to know is where your auxiliary belt are also located. If you don't know what auxiliary belt means, I'm talking about the alternator belt. Maybe that's the most easiest way to know, since that's what people prefer to call it. The belt that drive the alternator, depending on your engine model, your power steering pump, your AC compressor, and the rest, your water pump. So just your auxiliary belt or your timing chain or timing belt chamber, because your gearbox and your timing chamber cannot be at the same place, so one has to be the other side. So if you know where your timing chain or auxiliary belt is, it means the other side of it is the gearbox. So you need to know these two components, the gearbox, your timing chamber. Know these things to make it easier for you to know your engine configuration. So remember, your cylinders is numbered from your gearbox, not the other way around. Like I said, the other guy was making mistake focusing on cylinder 2, because to him, he and the mechanic and the other people that worked on it assumed that cylinder 1 started from cylinder 4. So because of that, they thought that no, they thought that cylinder 3, the cylinder 4 started from cylinder 1. So that cylinder 1 actually started from cylinder 4 into them. So because of that, they now assume that cylinder 3 that the system was pointing at was the cylinder 2. That is what you are looking at the picture. So if they have followed this Peugeot numbering system, they would have dictated all along that cylinder 3 was the right, this one you are looking at the picture right now, not what they thought in their mind or what every other person was telling them. Because they went, the owner, according to him, went online and checked, forgetting that most information online not put there by the manufacturers. These are just the same uninformed people that just go online, post one something, write an article, and people will take it as gospel that they must be telling the truth. Sometimes it's not even an article, just because somebody made a suggestion in a forum or something, they assume the person must know what he's talking about, and then it becomes the gospel or the fact. So, so this is for 4-cylinder transverse engine. Okay, moving on. Alright, so this is transverse V6 engine. So it's the same layout with the 4-cylinder one we just talked about, the 4-cylinder / 3-cylinder engine. So you can see where the gearbox is located and the timing chain or timing belt chamber. Now you might be wondering, do you have any Peugeot engine with timing chain that is in transverse form? Yes. Maybe you are too young to probably have used such Peugeot car. I have used one V6 engine with timing chain that actually was in a transverse form. So yeah, there is this like what's it called, ZPJ engine or ZPJ4 engine. These are V6 engines, Peugeot vehicles. Those who use them will know what I'm talking about. If you are old enough, you know, you will know. So now for V6 engines, same thing applies in Peugeot vehicles. The first cylinder start from the gearbox side. Now, what you need to understand is the V6 has 2 chambers, or what we also call 2 banks, BANKS, banks or bank, BANK. So leave it at that. It has 2 banks. Bank 1 is facing the radiator. Bank 2 is facing the cabin or the firewall. So it will be easier for you to note the radiator side. So know that the radiator side is the bank 1 for the transverse V6 layout for Peugeot engines. So same applies. So the numbering will start from bank 1 and ends in bank 2. So as you can see, the bank 1, you have 1, 2, and 3. Remember, this particular bank is facing the radiator for the transverse engine. If you don't know what your V6, if you have a V6 Peugeot vehicle V6 engine, go and open your bonnet, look at the location of your radiator, look at the location of your gearbox and the location of your timing chain chamber or timing belt chamber or your auxiliary belt. If not for anything, you can see your auxiliary belt right there. It's well exposed. So if you don't know, ask your mechanic which one is yours. Where is your gearbox located on your engine bay, to help you know your numbering system. Don't go that you are not see. This is not about teaching your mechanic. It's about you learning it, so that you use it to guide whoever that is working on your car after you must have done your diagnosis, to know exactly which cylinder that your system or your computer or your scan tool pointed at that has a problem. You tell them exactly which cylinder for them to go to, not telling them and thinking they will figure it out. They already know which cylinder 4 means or where it's located. So now bank 2, you can see where it is. So the bank 2, the numbering continue from the bank 1, and that is cylinder 4 will still be the closest cylinder to the gearbox. followed by cylinder 5 and then cylinder 6. So cylinder 3 and cylinder 6 are close to, or the closest cylinders to the timing chain chamber, timing belt chamber, or the auxiliary belt, while cylinder 1 and 4 are the closest to the gearbox. So these are for the Transverse V6 Peugeot engines layout. Okay, so this is for the Transverse now. So now we have what's it called? The longitudinal 4-cylinder engines. So when you look at this layout, you can, if you are into, let's assume you use all these older Peugeot cars, or you are into classic or vintage Peugeot vehicles, you will immediately use, from this image you identify this is one of the engine in your vehicles, or this is the layout of your engine you have in your car. Talking about like Peugeot 404, 504, 505, 305, not even 305. 305 is transverse. Is it transverse? Can't even remember again. I think it's transverse. Then what else? These older Peugeot cars, yeah, you will find, you once you see this diagram, this is your vehicle that I'm talking about. So you can see the location of the radiator and then the location of the gearbox of in the vehicle. So that will tell you this your engine is longitudinal layout. So now you can see you still maintain the same numbering system. Form the gearbox 1, 2, 3, 4, the cylinders. So always note that the cylinder 1 starts from the gearbox side and ends cylinder 4 with the timing chain chamber. So in this case, cylinder 4 is now facing the radiator on longitudinal setting. So if you are not so sure which one, you can screenshot these images so that when you go open your bonnet, you'll be able to know which one is yours. I don't need to start mentioning all the engine models. If it's not worth it. All you need to know is know the location of where the gearbox and the timing chambers are located or mounted on the engine bay. That's all you need to know. Remember, the radiator still remains the same place. Of all these engine configuration are pointed at, radiator still remain at the same position. But then the gearbox and the timing chamber locations differ. So that will help you to know. Okay, so we also have Peugeot engines that have longitudinal setup or layout, So in that case, it still remains the same. Look at the gearbox location, and then see where the cylinder 1 started, also from that same gearbox. So cylinder 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6 on bank 2, while bank 1 still have that 1, 2, 3. So when you stand in front of the engine bay, you know that the bank 1 is on facing what's it called, the left side. In other words, depending on driving position of the vehicle. If it's left-hand drive, it means this bank 1 is facing the driver's door, or the left side of the vehicle. So all these images are done is when you open the bonnet and you are standing in front of the front grille or the headlight, facing the engine bay. That's what all these pictures means. This is all this drawing I did. That's how you can find which one is your layout. So now at least This is exactly what your cylinders, engine cylinders look like, or how they are numbered. So when you scan your vehicle and it tells you cylinder 2 ignition coil faulty, cylinder 4 misfire, combustion misfiring, cylinder 5 or cylinder 2 injector whatever, usually it will mention that cylinder before it now tells you, okay, maybe the injector is not working on that cylinder, is not working well, or maybe there's a misfire going on, or maybe um the ignition coil there is not working well, or whatever it is. Once he point out a particular cylinder, sometimes it may say all the cylinders, some kind of misfiring going on, or undetected misfire on each cylinder, blah blah blah. Once it's specific on a cylinder, focus on that cylinder. So knowing your cylinder numbering will help you to know which cylinder, rather than going to cylinder 4 when actually the engine ECU pointed at cylinder 3. You keep wasting your time, keep changing what you don't need to change, wasting. Before you know it, like I say, you may get a point. Remember what this guy had to go to. They had to remove the cylinder head, change the head gasket, change the valve, did everything. The issue remained until they now said, no, this is beyond it. Something is wrong. Let's get a specialist involved. And it took me less than 5 minutes to find what the issue was. And then a few more minutes, the engine came back alive. Because of course, the one cylinder was dead, completely dead. So you can imagine how the engine was running all those days or weeks or months. He was trying to sort that issue out, only for the engine to come back normal within 10 to 15 or 20 minutes max. So know your Peugeot cylinder numbering system. This video is very important. If you think it's not important to you, until you find yourself in that mess, then you understand. Peugeot is not Japanese. It's not other brand of vehicle. They have their own numbering system. So whatever knowledge you have about these other ones, keep it to that brand. Yeah, some things are general, but there are some technology that each brand, I don't know how to put it, they patented or just keep it to themselves and use it in doing their vehicles. So don't assume that they're all the same. They are not. So and stop living your life according to what other people you don't even know talks, and you make it you have to depend on what someone you probably have never even seen or even know whether he's even speaking from his ass. Because somebody says something online, you must be speaking the truth. I mean, start going beyond. So most times, I mean, stay away from online and actually live the physical life you came to live. Some of this information, genuine information, are not online. Well, most are online, but before now, I mean, people were actually learning and gathering knowledge off online. Online now is filled with crafts and garbages. Everybody is now an expert online, posting whatever they want to put, and people are picking this information, thinking they're actually the correct information. There are correct informations online. Most of them are not actually free. You have to pay to get such knowledge or to get such information. Sometimes you could be lucky and find some of these true information for free, but the majority you find online are pure garbage. So know how to select. When you are not sure, then find how to get that true information rather than start arguing what you don't know, because that's what usually make people to stay being that ignorant. Every small thing they tell you, I bet Google said it now. Well, people have Googled it. They just keep arguing and they remain without I don't know. So I hope this video helps, so that you don't have that negative experience with your Peugeot vehicles.